Marti Smith here, and I am a sensory detective, or I could also say occupational therapist. And that just means that I love to look at the senses and try and figure out what is happening within the body. Sensory processing is our ability to have something happen in our environment and for us to sense it through our senses or our feelings, whether they're internal, like our balance and how tight things are, or external, like how things smell or how they look. So something happens in the environment, and then our bodies decide, is this something that is going to be scary? Do I need to react quickly to it? Do I need to get away from it? Do I need to protect myself? Or is it something I can think about? Is this big? Is it heavy? Is it small? And then we decide, what do we do with this information? Do we actually run? Do we scream? Do we cry? Do we lean in? Do we hug it? Do we smell it? Do we embrace it? So sensory processing is that ability to have a sensation happen, interpret the sensation, and have an action to that sensation. It is our incredible ability to notice the people and the surroundings around us and how we relate to our environment and to others. And that is also based on our perceptions, based on our past experiences, and based on the surrounding. Even the sensations that we feel are very dependent upon what is going on internally and how we actually feel about those sensations based on our past experiences, and also how the people around us are responding as well. There's a phrase that says, what fires together wires together. And that means when the sensations happen together, we tend to remember them as a group. So when you close your eyes and you think about your favorite meal, you not only see the table, you smell the food, you hear the background. And so when you smell that smell again, it will take you back to that moment where you can actually have the feeling of seeing and hearing the same sensations, even though smell is the only thing that is replicated for you. Another example would be when I'm walking down the hallway and I can see that my feet are moving. I can feel the floor beneath my shoes. I can smell the cafeteria smells coming down the hallway, and I hear the echo of my shoes up against the wall. And so we feel our body react to the movement, and that would be our balance or our vestibular system. And when those senses are off, if I can't feel my feet, if I don't know where my balance is, I might use other senses to figure out my place in that hallway. I might take my hand and walk it down the hallway walls. And that's just because I'm now using my sense of touch to know where I am in the room. And when a caregiver sees this, they might think that child's being disruptive. They might think that they're trying to take all the photos off of the wall, or they're making handprints on the wall, and they would get agitated. But really, this child is just trying to figure out where they are in space. There's no malice. They aren't perceiving things with their senses that they're leaning on, so they have to lean on other senses. It's our caregivers who lay the foundations for what we like, what we don't like, what we're fearing, what our fears are, and things that delight us or bring us joy. And it's through their eyes that we learn our own sensory preferences. And they're supposed to teach us that senses that come in, maybe through the threat part of our bodies, the parts of our bodies that react to threats, aren't always supposed to be scary. So for example, a cool breeze would be a threatening sensation, but the caregiver gives you a coat. The caregiver gives you a cuddle or a snuggle and a deep pat. And when that deep pat, that hug, that embrace, that coming together towards the midline of our body, we actually release chemicals in our joints and our muscles that go up to the brain and tell us that we're safe. And that's why we love to get hugged. And that's why we love a weighted wrap around us and things that make us feel very comfy and cozy. And we pair that pain with a sense of well-being, and that's how we develop safety and resilience. But if we think about early adversity, there was no pairing of those sensations. Some of the children that we work with, they only experience the pain, and they didn't get that relational care that came along with that sensation. So for them, they may seek out more information because the body doesn't understand what's happening. So they're gonna want things loud and they're bright, and they are constantly scanning and looking around, trying to figure out where the exits are, figure out what other sensations might be coming at them, and they become very hypervigilant. Or other children, they just shut down. Their body doesn't know how to react to this, and so it says if I stop moving, I'll stop the sensations. If I withdraw within myself, then I don't have to feel these things that are so scary to me. So you get sensory processing. You can have children that look very active, and you can also have children that look very calm. And it also, we're going to do that throughout our day anyway. How boring would it be if we were always just calm and collected every moment? I want the children I work with to experience joy. I want them to have laughter, and I want them to get mad. I want them to tell me what they like and they don't like, because that's how I get to know who they are. My goal is never to just calm a child. My goal is to help the child feel comfortable in the skin that God gave them and created them to be. And we also first see our senses and interpret them through the eyes of the caregiver. And so many times I see caregivers that will say, stop crying, which is don't express how you're feeling. Or they say, you aren't hungry, and the child is thinking, I thought I was. Or, they say, that's not scary, and the child is thinking, it seems scary to me. Or you're fine. And so we tell these children these things, and the child is like, wow, if this is fine, then fine doesn't feel very good to me. So I don't want to be fine. Or they might say, I thought I was hungry, but now I'm not really sure. And so we need to really honor how the child perceives things, and understanding their development may cause them to perceive things differently than you. So the treatment for sensory processing is to allow curiosity in a very non-judgmental way. We want to allow exploration and provide experiences for the child to interact with the world in a way that feels comfortable and safe in their bodies. Stuart Avalon is one of the people that I have worked with, and he says that children do well when they can. And that really changed the way that I look at things. And if we look at it as a skill and not will, when a child is melting down, we get curious and we say, why is this hard for them? Instead of, why are they coming at me? It really has nothing to do with you. One of the things that I learned about sensory processing is when these kids are having a hard time, they're not even really thinking about my feelings. They're too stuck on their own feelings. So there really is nothing personal about it. They're just trying to find their own safety. And so when things are too loud, too itchy, too bright, too slow, then they might refuse to engage in the activity, or they might act silly so that they don't have to be embarrassed, or they don't have to fear rejection for the skills that they're not able to do. So when I'm educating, one of the most frequent questions I get is, how do we help the child calm? And I've already discussed that I'm not here to calm your child. I'm here to help your child feel their true sensations and be their authentic self. But sometimes we need to lower our energy level to match the sensory environment and the social construction that's around us. When I need to figure out how to lower that energy or that arousal level, I try and first start by matching where the child's energy is. And I want them to be seen by me. And then I'm going to slowly influence the environment around them. Match the rhythm first. If the child comes in a very rhythmic move, even if they're very high energy and they're rocking and they're flapping and they're bouncing and their tone is rhythm, like that child is trying to calm down. Our internal sense is a rhythmic activity will calm the nervous system. But if the child is spinning around and, I call it the jumping bean, where they're here and they're there, that child is actually looking for more input. They're seeking more information. So both feel like very high energy, but the one is actually trying to calm the system and the other is trying to alert it. So once I figure out if they're trying to calm or alert, then I go through a continuum by influencing the environment. And one of the things I like to share is something called the vestibular system. That's your balance. And inside of your head, real close to the inner ear, are these canals. And they go in these different shapes. And so we have canals that go this way, and we have canals this way, and then this way. And we also have some saccules and utricles that go this way and this way. So our head, how our head moves, directly influences our spinal cord and how we come upright, how we move forward, and how we find our balance. So depending on the movement of the fluid in those canals, it really directly affects our level of excitement. So if you want to do something really quick at your seat, feel the movement of going up and down This is your calming movement. And when we have a baby, we hold the baby and we rock the baby like this. And that gives that baby that up, down, really calming movement. Then we move into the front to back. We're in a rocking chair, we're in a glider, and we're getting front to back movement. That's still very calming, but it's not as calming as this movement here with the baby. Then we go side to side, and this is your neutral movement. This is the movement you find yourself doing when you're standing in line at the grocery store or you're waiting on something. You're just kind of swaying and you're not really trying to get excited or you're not trying to fall asleep. But it's interesting when we look at the caregiver, when they try and put the baby to sleep, caregiver's getting side to side, baby's getting the head to bottom type movement. And so that's a way that we're both perceiving the same movement very differently. Once we get through that, then we start to do a spin and an elliptical. So we're moving this way in a big circle like an ellipse. And then a tight spin. If you were to get up from your chair right now and do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around, you would see that you're going to wake yourself up a little bit. So when you look at a child who's really high energy and they're trying to calm down, I might pick them up and embrace them and give them a hug and release all those chemicals that calm you down, and I'll spin around with them and give them what they're seeking. And then I'll start to rock back and forth, and I go through that continuum to bring them back to calm. But I met them in relationship. They saw that they were heard, their needs were felt, and we co-regulated together. And so maybe we use movement. We can also use other senses. We could use the sense of vanilla to help calm a child down. We might have some peppermint if we're trying to wake everybody up. We might play bass music. That's that real heavy bass, even rap music. Sometimes with teenagers, we're like, wow, that seems very alerting and dysregulating. But the bass of the rap music actually brings that arousal system down, and it matches where the child's preferences are. So it's honoring their body, their sensory preferences as well. So I have to consider how they're perceiving the environment if I'm going to influence how they relate to it. So the goal is to find tools for self-regulation when I'm working with a child. If I could do anything with this talk, it would be to normalize the coping strategies that we use. Allow the children to move, allow them to have a cool drink, allow them to pick their clothing, and allow them to have the pause. Give them timing, lower the duration where they have to be influenced by these things that they don't prefer. We don't seek out things that are unpleasant with us, but yet we expect our children to adjust and adapt quickly. Can we have more compassion with how we present their sensations to them in a respectful way, and give them strategies and supports like the weighted blankets, the weighted vests, the cool drinks, bubble gum, allow them to chew gum, and allow them to maybe have different seating options, and respect and value what their body is telling us. When we understand how we feel, then we can find strategies to influence that. We can increase our tolerance, and we can enjoy our bodies and how God made us, and we can interact with the community around us.